Let us go back to the original concept we were discussing, the evolution of a state. And don't worry, you don't have to write any answer. Understand it, fine? Evolution of a state in Europe. And what I told that in ancient time, the form of a state was city-state. City-states of ancient time have given rise to the Roman Empire in medieval times. Roman Empire had two centers, East, Istanbul, or Constantinople, and West, Rome. And this was captured by the Turks from Central Asia, resulting into the formation of Ottoman Empire. The successor of Ottoman Empire has been Turkey, and thus a line is drawn between the Christian civilization and the Islamic civilization. And then there has been a clash of civilizations, and in the world history you will study about the Crusades. Fine. Now, what else happened in the Western Europe? Leave the history of the Eastern Europe. Let us understand what else happened in the Western Europe. So what we will study now? We will now study the developments in the Western Europe in medieval times. So in your copy, you write it down. The developments in the Western Europe in medieval times. And by this time, the divide has already been set in between the East and the West. So we will ignore the developments here. We will focus on the developments here. Now, still what happens is, like under the Mughal Empire, it is very natural that succession struggles started. Succession struggles started in the Roman Empire. Fine. So a king, let's have more sons, and who will be acquiring or who will be occupying the throne. Succession struggles started. Now, because of succession struggle, how to manage, how to deal with this? Fine. So you can write this: in the western part of Roman Empire, succession struggles started. Okay. Right. How to, right, in order to diffuse the succession struggles, church got involved in politics. Suppose a king dies and a king has two sons, and who will occupy the throne, who will decide? So involvement of the church started. Fine. Okay, so you have written succession struggle, and right, in order to end the succession struggles, the involvement of church started. Okay, now this is very important point. Involvement of the church. Underline this. Fine? Write it down. Right? When church became involved in the political affairs, it started becoming more and more powerful in the political sphere. Fine? So, let us say Mughal Empire becoming weak. You involve the church. So, as the power vacuum is there, church will try to expand its power. Okay. So, as the succession struggle, the church got involved in the politics. Okay. Fine. So, what happened was, right, gradually church became the most powerful institution let us say Roman Church, and the authority of Roman emperor became weak, very weak, and you can say nominal. As you say that the Mughals started becoming weak and a new power, the Britishers started expanding their power. So similarly in Europe also held like that. Fine. And what happened was, there was the mixing of religion and politics. There was a mixing of religion and politics. And in fact, the state came under the authority of the church. Right? In Europe, there was a mixing of religion and politics, and state came under the authority of the church. Okay? After this, you write, the influence of church became all pervasive. The influence of church became pervasive. All pervasive. Fine. So everywhere church became quite influential. Okay. Now, this has also created the bitterness between the church and the state. Okay, you can write down. As church authority became all pervasive, it has started creating the bitterness between the church and the state. As king tried to assert its authority, but the question was whether the church is supreme or the state is supreme. Fine. So bitterness came. So in the European history, this bitterness is explained through, or described through, the theory of two swords. The theory of two swords. Fine. First, the sword of the Pope and the sword of Emperor, or the sword of the King. Whose law will prevail? Right? The conflict between the church and state in Europe is described through the phrase theory of two swords. Means whose law will prevail. Pope or the king. Okay, so it was a very chaotic situation. Fine, write it down. It was a very chaotic situation. When you don't know, suppose in India, if you don't know Supreme Court is supreme or President is supreme and where should I go, it is all chaos. Fine. And this chaos has brought Europe under the 30 years of war. I will explain this history again. Right now, I am explaining it simply, superficially. I will explain it again when I will do Machiavelli, where I will explain the emergence of nation states. Till that time, have a rough idea. Okay, so there was a 30 years of war because of intermixing of religion and politics. Fine, right? If you have not written, you can note it down, that because of intermixing of religion and politics, there was a 30 years of war. Okay. Now, the 30 years of war, this ended in Treaty of Westphalia. The 30 years of war ended in Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. If you have not written, you can write that the intermixing of religion and state resulted into the 30 years of war in Europe. The 30 years of war, 30 years of war ended in 1648 in Treaty of Westphalia. Okay. Now, Treaty of Westphalia is very important in political science. Okay. Now, why this treaty is important? Write it down. What is the significance of Treaty of Westphalia? In the answer to this, you write, it led to the recognition of nation states. I am repeating this. Treaty of Westphalia led to the establishment of nation states in Europe. Okay. I am again repeating. The Treaty of Westphalia led to the establishment of the nation state in the West. In Europe. Fine. Write one more line. It also show the transition. It also show the transition from the medieval age to the modern age in political terms. I am repeating. It also shows the transition from medieval age to the modern age in political terms. Okay, underline this. Political terms. Right? Write this question. What does this transition means? I am repeating. You can write it down. What does this transition means? Right? It means the transition from Roman Empire into a nation state. I am repeating. It means transition from the Roman Empire into the nation states. So, what transitions we have seen? Don't write, listen. First, city-state in ancient time. City-state have given way to Roman Empire. So what we see, the transition from ancient to medieval age. Roman Empire has given way to the nation state. What we see, the transition from Roman Empire, a transition from medieval age to the nation state. Okay? Now in your copy you write, what is a nation state? I am repeating. You can write, what is a nation state? Okay. So write it down. Right. Nation state is a type of the state. Nation state is a type of the state. Okay. It's a type of state. Now you write down, what are the other types of states? In answer to this question, you can write, in ancient Greece, we see city-state. In medieval times, we see the Roman Empire. In modern times, we see the nation state. Okay. So what is a nation state? The nation state is a type of state which emerged in the modern Europe. Fine. So again you write, what is a nation state? Right. Nation state is a type of state which emerged in Europe. Right. Next, write, hence it is a European institution. Right. Hence it is a European institution. Okay. Next, write, as European powers colonized rest of the world, Asia, America, North America, Latin America, Africa. So as European powers established their kingdom, established their colonies around the world, right, nation state became the universal institution. Right? Nation state became the universal institution. Underline this, universal institution. What does it mean? Right? It means across the globe, nation state has become a universal institution. What does it mean? It means across the globe. Okay. Now across the globe, nation state become institution across the globe. Why? Because the entire world was European, a colony of European countries. Okay. Right. It means the entire globe at present is divided into the nation states. Or you can say that around the world, people live under the political entity known as nation state. Okay. Now, we should understand what is a nation state. Write this question. What is a nation state? Now, in order to understand what is a nation state, you will have to understand what is a nation and what is a nation state. So, you will have to understand the concept of nation. And to understand it more clearly, you will also have to understand the difference between the nation state and the other two forms of the states in Europe, that is the city state and the nation state, empire and the nation state. And when we had the doubt clearing session, some students were asking why India is a nation in making and these type of questions also. So in order to understand these questions and have a clarity, we have to understand the concept of nation state. And somebody also asked about postmodern thing. That also we have to understand from the concept of nation state. So I think this is enough for today. I want you to leave at this point so that you can understand the concept of nation state more clearly. Hello friends, let us continue with the discussion. So in the last class, I was discussing about the evolution of the state in Europe. Evolution of the state in Europe. I am again reminding, there is no question from this topic, but you will have to understand this topic to understand the further political science properly. And my habit is, I will keep on relating the theory and the evolution with the current developments. Like yesterday, I talked about current Turkey issue. So don't get confused. Just listen. My purpose is to open your mind, to ignite your minds about the things happening and how various threads are interconnected. And don't think everything, every information from the perspective that I have to write answer. Plus, don't think that everything has to be written. There's a lot of things which have to be understood. Okay? So, yesterday, I told you about the city-state and city-state giving way to Roman Empire. Fine. And Roman Empire giving way to nation state. So the objective of today's lecture is that you first understand what is a nation state. Fine. What is a nation state? And I will tell you when to write. Right now, concentrate on what I am discussing. Fine. So the first thing is state. Fine. If state is a noun, nation state is an adjective. Okay. There can be different types of states. Okay. What are the other types of states we have seen? We have seen city state. We have also seen Roman Empire. Now, which type of state are we going to study? Nation state. Okay. Since we are born and brought up in the nation state, and around the world you see only nation state, you feel nation state is a state. Fine. But there can be various models of nation state, and at different point of time, there have been different types of states. Now, the time in which we are living, the people around the globe are divided into the political communities known as nation states. So nation state is essentially a European institution. It emerged in Europe, and because European powers, they colonized the world including America, nation state became the universal institution. So all those who will pay attention to what I am speaking, rather than start relating, always come to this class with empty mind rather than a cluttered mind with lot of confusions, and keep things simple, keep things straight, and declutter your mind. Don't have confusions, and listen to what is being told. Okay. Because if you will bring the web of confusions around you, this will become difficult and you will stick to your confusions and you will not be able to move in the class with the flow. So understand the things in the way I am developing. Okay. I hope you have understood this much, and in the last lecture you have also noted it down. Fine. So now I will tell you what are the characteristics. What are the elements of nation states? You can write in your copies, what are the elements of nation states? Okay. In answer you write, there are 4 elements of nation state. There are 4 elements of nation state. What are these 4 elements? One is territory. Second is population. Third is government. Fourth is sovereignty. Fine. If anybody asks you what are the features of nation state, your simple answer should be nation state has 4 features. I am not talking about every state. I am talking about the nation state. Okay. Now, write the next question. Write when and where nation state originated. So the next question is when and where nation states originated. When? Okay. So in formal sense, in the formal sense, it can be, its origin can be linked to the 17th century. Till 17th century, neither there was a nation, nor there was an ideology of nationalism. Okay. Similarly, if we talk about India, before the Britishers came, neither there was a nation, nor there was nationalism. Okay. So these are the products of modernization. When modern age started, at that time, these institutions have come into existence. Okay. So if somebody asks you when nation state started, the answer will be in 17th century. Fine. And in 17th century, which event? What was the event? Event was Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Westphalia, presently a place in Germany. So Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Okay. Treaty of Westphalia. Why this treaty was there? This treaty marks the end of 30 years war in Europe. 30 years war in Europe. Fine. So now you can just write that. The question is, I am repeating, when and where nation states originated. The formal sense, nation states originated in 17th century. Fine. The event was Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. And Treaty of Westphalia was to end the 30 years of war. Okay. So that is why this concept of nation states is also known as Westphalian system. Don't write, understand. Nation states is also known as the Westphalian system. If the states are organized on the principles of nation state, it is called Westphalian order. Okay. Again, don't write, just understand. Another significance of Treaty of Westphalia is the beginning of international politics. The beginning of international politics. See, when nations will exist, then only international politics will exist. So the beginning of international politics is also known as, or is also traced to, the origin of nation states. So when nation states are not there, how will you have international politics? Okay? And don't write, just listen that when we will study the international politics, we will study international politics in context of the world order. Fine. So, from 1648 till the end of Second World War, the world order of international politics is called as Westphalian World Order. Again, I am repeating. With Treaty of Westphalia emerged the nation states, and when nation states emerged, international politics started. And when we study international politics, we study in the framework of the world order. How is the world order? Okay? And we have seen the phases of world order. Okay? The first phase, there is nothing to write. It is just an interrelated thing, so I am explaining. So let us start from this Treaty of Westphalia led to the origin of nation states. What was a system before? Roman Empire. In Roman Empire, because of the intermixing of religion and politics, there was a 30 years war. This war is within the Roman Empire, so can we call it a civil war? Yes. Now, when nation states emerged, then international politics emerged. Okay. So, in ancient Greece, there was no international politics. Why? Nations were not there. There used to be wars between the city-states. There used to be trade between the city-states. But there used to be no international politics. Child. Is that clear? Now understand international politics. So when we will study international politics, we study with reference to the world orders. When we will study international politics, we study with reference to the world orders. Okay? You must be knowing the name of one very famous personality, Henry Kissinger. Who is Henry Kissinger? Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State of USA. Okay. At the time of Nixon, when Nixon was president, Kissinger was Secretary of State. And what is the importance of Henry Kissinger? We have seen that during the Cold War, US and China were very close to each other. If we go back into the world history, what we see that after Second World War, there was a communist revolution in China. After communist revolution in China, the relations between USA and China deteriorated. And China was in the communist bloc and US being the leader of the capitalist world, and US policy has been the policy of containment. The policy of containment means stopping the expansion of communism. If communism will spread, it will destroy capitalism. Hence, we see the war in Korean Peninsula. Communists were expanding their influence. Americans and the capitalist world was trying to prevent their influence. Okay. Now, the Korean War, where under the support of the Communist Party of China and USSR, communists in Korea could occupy the Korean Peninsula. Because of that, there was a Korean War, and when USA got involved in the Korean War, USA could ensure that at least in South Korea, capitalism and democracy is re-established. Since then, the Korean Peninsula has been divided into North Korea and South Korea. So after the Korean War, the relations between China and USA deteriorated. Communism was successful in expanding itself in the neighborhood of China, like in Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. Okay? After this, what we see in the world history is schism between China and USSR. There was a schism between China and USSR, means division between the two. Why there was a schism? Because of the leadership struggle. So Mao wanted to lead the communist world, but in USSR, Brezhnev wanted to lead. So USSR leaders, Khrushchev, Brezhnev, so there was a power struggle, and China came out of the Soviet bloc. Now at that point of time, the main enemy was Russia, and China came out of Russia, so it made sense for USA to at least bring China under its influence. Fine. Now, within China also, changes were happening. Mao Zedong, the leader of China, died. Fine. Mao, the leader of China, died. And after this, China had another leader, Deng Xiaoping. Okay? So all those who are writing, don't write all these things. Listen to me. Deng Xiaoping was a very smart person. Today, if China is powerful, it is because of this person. Unlike Mao, who was more ideologically oriented, Deng Xiaoping was having more pragmatic vision, more practical approach. He was a practical person. So it was during his time, China started opening up. He could realize that through the communist method, we will not be able to develop China. For the development of China, foreign investment will be required. Now, USA seized this opportunity, and a phase of good relations between US and China started. And the person who was responsible for bringing China, US close was US-China close was Henry Kissinger. He was the Secretary of State, equivalent to Foreign Minister in India, of Nixon. Nixon was a president. And then began the era of close US-China relations, for which the term is rapprochement. Fine. So Henry Kissinger has been a person. Henry Kissinger always favored USA's closer relation with China over India. Till very recently, he emphasized that US should improve its relations with China. In the last 1 or 2 years, there was a change in his approach. And in the last 1 or 2 years, he has started talking about US to give importance to India. How and why is different, we will discuss in international politics. And Kissinger must be around 95 years plus, around 99. And he visited India last year, along with some other members, some other experts of USA, which also signals a big change. Now, after 95 years, you can say, I don't know exactly, maybe at the age of 97, 99, Kissinger has written a book. And that book became very famous. The title of the book was World Order. Fine. So international politics is studied with reference to the world order. Excuse me. I can show you this book. This is the book of Henry Kissinger, The World Order, to understand the world politics. Fine. If you want, you can see this book. Now, why I brought you to Kissinger is that you can understand what is happening. But because I referred this term world order, so I thought, let me tell you about the world order. What exactly is the world order? Like how the system, how the world system is there. Fine. I will be using this term, so I thought I will tell you. So, when nation states emerged, then international politics emerged. Fine. And how do we study international politics? We study international politics through the framework of world order. Okay. And we have seen various world orders. Okay. Now, the types of world orders which we have seen. First, from Treaty of Westphalia till the end of Second World War. This world order is called as Westphalian. Okay? From Treaty of Westphalia till the end of Second World War, the world order is called as Westphalian. Fine. Second, and please don't write all these things, just have these concepts in mind. Fine, I will tell you when to write. From Second World War till 1991. What happened in 1991? Disintegration of USSR. Disintegration of USSR can also be called as the collapse of communism. Okay. So, the world order from this to this phase is called as Cold War. Cold War world order. Okay. And from 1991 till present, let us say 2020. It is called as post Cold War world order. Okay. Post Cold War world order is also called as globalization. Globalization. Fine. And what we see that because of 2019 COVID crisis, again the world is changing and there is a possibility of de-globalization. Okay, and it is believed that de-globalization will take us back to the Westphalian world order. Fine. It is also assumed that maybe it can bring us back to the city states world order of the city states. Okay, so I can really assume that you all must not be understanding anything because you are very new to the subject. The only thing is I want at least you hear these words and you understand that these are the words, these are the debates which is of relevance to us, and you establish the linkages in all these things. So in this entire lecture, even if you don't understand anything, I am okay. I only want that you hear these words, and whenever you see the newspaper or anything, you are in a position to just recollect, okay, this is a word of significance and sometime, somewhere I will be using it. I am clarifying, don't think ma'am is deviating from the topic. I am not deviating from the topic. You take these initial 3-4 classes as the warming up sessions with some basic conceptual framework in your mind. You can understand the thought and theory. Thought, theory, comparative politics, international relations, Indian politics. They are not separate. They are all interlinked to each other. And these interlinkages has to be understood. So in my lectures, there will be a lot of background informations which you may not be able to relate at present, but somewhere later on you can link it. In short, you can say that there will be a lot of storytelling and there is no need that you pen it down everything. Fine. So if you just come to know, okay, these are certain words used in the subject, my purpose is fulfilled. Okay. So now I will come back to the description of this Westphalian world order, deglobalization, Westphalian world order, and the city state. Fine. So basically, what was globalization? Yeah, what is globalization? Globalization is interdependence. Globalization is interconnectedness. Fine. In the newspapers, you must be reading about the disruption of global supply chains because of COVID crisis. You must have also heard about Indian Prime Minister talking about localization. Fine. So, globalization means interdependence, interconnectedness. Deglobalization means breakdown in that interconnectedness. Repeatedly, this word is being used. Global supply chains. And at and the center of these global supply chains is China. And the world has become too much dependent on China. Okay? And this COVID crisis has been an experience to, or has been a learning for everybody, that what was happening earlier was not normal. That's why everybody says, accept the new normal. Fine? So it was not normal, the type of dependency when the Western world had for masks and the basic medical equipments on China. Okay? So the globalization led world order. Deglobalization is starting. Deglobalization means the importance of nation state is increase. Atmanirbhar Bharat. Fine. There is no difference in what Trump says, America first, and what Modi says, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Both these statements point towards the beginning of deglobalization and the movement towards the state. Okay? So when it was globalization, era of globalization, WTO was important. Era of deglobalization, instead of multilateralism, you will hear America first or Atmanirbhar Bharat. Is there any difference, America first? No. You are emphasizing on the nation. Again, you are re-emphasizing on the nation over the global multilateral institutions. So maybe we are again going back to the Westphalian order. And God knows that city-states, what was city-states? A localized, decentralized way of life. Now, because of the lockdowns, you have seen in India the problem of migration, the problem of migrant laborers, and how bad is the situation. And the question is, why people from the village in Bihar has to come to Delhi, creating unplanned urbanization, plus putting himself in the risk. And if you add the women migrant laborers, so much unfriendly environment, the slums in the cities, and complete underdevelopment in the villages. So you have to create the employment opportunities there. The village should not be dependent on the metropolitan cities. So yesterday somebody was talking about Gandhi and city state and all. So you just conceptualize these concepts. So maybe because of the distancing, because of lockdowns, because of practical things, what the people from UP need not to come out, the people from Bihar need not to come out. The best thing is they get their employment there. So you never know, we can move towards the city state. So don't understand the concept in a very technically limited sense. You have to contextualize the concepts. Two, that was, we were in the process of understanding the nation states.